welcome.
Hi, Chris.
Episode of Respect the Shooter. And here today we are highlighting you and your accomplishments over the years and, just pushing the brand forward because you've done some amazing things in your career. And, now it's time to step to the forefront and, just tell the world.
That's funny that you say years. Yeah, I guess I've been there for a few years. This is great because I normally just work and I don't talk much about what I do because these days mostly what I'm doing is real estate and publicity for University of Southern California. There is not much to talk about shooting houses. You just kind of go do your thing. But you made me think about the whole arc of my career and work, and I sure did have a lot of fun thinking about some crazy stuff that I've done over the years. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Sure. Okay.
What's your name? Where you from?
My name. Okay. Sorry. My name is Tom Queally. I'm originally from the Virgin Islands. I came to Los Angeles for the 1984 Summer Olympics. I had two friends that were on the Virgin Islands sailing team, and they invited me to come out and stay with them, and I ended up having a role sort of managing them during their time at the Olympics because they were just teenagers and making sure they got to practices and stuff on time, got fed and everything like that. And when the Olympics was over and those guys headed to the East Coast to continue sailing, I just took one look around LA and said, not me, I'm staying right here. This place is awesome. So I was interested in film and photography. I had done that in high school and in college. I did independent study in theater photography at college. I did yearbook in high school. I was very into photography and filmmaking. So I tried to get a job in TV and movies because that was what was most exciting to me at the time. Had zero traction trying to get a job until by accident one day at an interview, I said, well, I have been managing the Virgin Islands Olympic sailing team. And the guy was like, what? Because the buzz at the time, the Olympics was everything in LA at the time, And so that's how I got onto my first job. I don't think I got that job, but I noticed that interviewers took an interest in that storyline, so that's how I ended up working. I worked on a biker movie. It was my first real job out here.
Doing what?
It was called Savage Dawn. You can look it up on the internet. So as a production assistant, I actually had a motorcycle at the time, which I drove to set, and eventually there was a stunt in which two stuntmen got injured, and they were like, what are we going to do? I was like, well, what about that kid? He drives his bike to set every day. So they put me on a different bike, and of all three people that did the stunt, I was the only one that did not fall off. So that was kind of fun. Then I had a little part as an extra in the movie. I sat on the back of a bike. It was a biker gang, and the actor was like really cracking me in the ribs in his character, and I didn't really understand all that at the time. Like, this guy's an a-hole. I'm just trying to sit on the back of this bike. But anyways, that was a fun experience. Should I continue?
Oh, keep going.
Keep going. Eventually, I got a job in television working on a show for Nickelodeon called Kids Incorporated.
Okay.
Now, back in the day, for example, during that time, Fergie was a 12-year-old, and she was a singer-dancer on the show. Mario Lopez was about 14, and he was on the show. So I worked as a production assistant on that show. Some of the highlights were, one day, they were really busy in wardrobe, and they were asking for help, but I knew my ex-wife at the time, she knew how to sew like nobody's business. I said, I think my wife could help you out. So she comes down to the show, to the set, and the wardrobe lady is introducing her to Mario Lopez. And she's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And Mario's like, hey, comes in, kisses her, and my wife tells me, I started to feel like some tongue, like moving in. And so she took a step back, and that was her introduction to Mario Lopez when he was a 14-year-old.
Wow.
When I worked on that show, one day, one of the background producers of the show, I guess executive producer, was a guy named Hal Roach, who produced all of the Laurel and Hardy movies way back in time, black and white comedy, sort of like the Three Stooges.
Right.
So this Hal Roach got a flat tire, and as a production assistant, they said, "Tom, go out and get this tire fixed." And he had a Rolls Royce.
Wow.
And this is, when you're a production assistant, sometimes you get called on to do crazy, fun stuff that, isn't really in the job description, but you get to do it. So I get in the car, and Hal Roach was like 5'2".
Wow.
And I'm 6 feet tall. So I get in there, and all the controls are for him. And I'm like this in the car because the seat is all the way forward, and it's, I can barely operate the car, but I get us to the gas station. And I say to the attendant, "Hey, man, do you know anything about the controls in this car? Because I don't know if I can even get back to the studio." And because it was Hollywood, and the guy had been around the block, he was like, "Yeah, sure, you just hit this and that." And they got the seating all arranged so I could drive it. That was fun. There was another time with this Kids Incorporated, I had to retrieve a Porsche Turbo 911 from a vice president who was fired. Mm-hmm. And they used to give me crazy jobs because I was kind of a crazy young guy. And so I had to come up with a plan on how to get this car back. So I ended up taking the largest but not the brightest production assistant on the show. I kept him in the dark the whole time. I said, "Look, we're going to go to somebody's house, and when this guy opens the door, I just want you to have the most serious, mad face you can come up with and say nothing." So we ring the doorbell, and the vice president opens the door, and I have the guy right over my shoulder. He's like 3 or 4 inches taller, looking at the vice president, and I put out my hand and said, "Keys, please." And he just went, got the Porsche keys, and put them right in my hand. So this is way long time ago when cell phones were like this size. It was like a VCR deck and a handset.
Right.
And my boss had one, which was very special at the time. And I cranked this thing. I'm in the Porsche. It's got the top down. I'm going down the Hollywood freeway. "Hey, boss, I got the Porsche back." They're like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah. How did you do it?" I said, "Well, I just did it." So they were at a restaurant at the time called Le Dome on Sunset Strip. Was like, I don't know, whatever the fanciest restaurant is in West Hollywood right now, that was it.
Okay.
So I drive up to Le Dome after I recovered the Porsche, and the two bosses come out, the two heads of the company come out. They're like looking at the car. There's no damage. Like, "Man, you did it." I said, "Yep, I did it." And they said, "Great. Take it home tonight and bring it back in the morning." So I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome." I'd never been in a car like this before. I took it out onto the 210 freeway at night. It went 120 miles an hour. I had the high beams on. Now this is a long time ago, 30 plus years ago, so there was not much traffic on the 210 at night. That's why I went there. But even with the high beams on at 120, I felt like I didn't have enough of a safety distance to increase my speed, so I did 120, had no problems. I took the car to my apartment, and we blocked it with my car and my wife's car with like a half an inch between the bumpers so nobody could steal it overnight. And then I took it to work the next day.
You think that they were sending you on missions that they knew you couldn't accomplish and just surprised when you come back with it?
No, I think they knew that somehow I would figure it out and I would accomplish the mission. Yeah. I'm pretty determined, persistent, and creative, so I usually prevailed. Well, okay, so let's back up a little bit from that. So we had a company dinner one night, and when it was over, we were driven to the dinner by both bosses, and they were parked right next to each other. Maybe we had to park far. We're eating on Melrose, and after the dinner, and everybody's all buzzed up, whoever gets to the car first, bonus or something like that. So everybody starts running towards the car. Everybody's drunk. I see a stake bed truck starting to slowly pass by on Melrose. I grabbed the back of the stake bed truck, hopped up onto the truck, and I had to figure out there's got to be a stop sign or a stoplight up here somewhere because I am not jumping off this thing at 35, 40 miles an hour. Sure enough, right when we're just about where their cars were, there was a natural slowdown, and I just jump off the back of the truck, do one roll, step up, tap the car first, and said, "See, I'm the winner." So I would do stuff like that, and they would say, "Send this guy out to do this or that," because I would get it done.
Right. A man with a plan in action.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So I know you produce music and done all type of stuff on TV. What is it like actually, working behind the scenes with some of these actors? Did some of the people that you meet that were on TV, when you meet them, you like them or then you not like them?
That's a great question. As you may know, oftentimes your interaction with a celebrity on a shoot, whatever your capacity is, it's all professional, and there's sometimes not a lot of back and forth banter. You don't get to really know them that much. I'd say for me, some exceptions were I worked on a Barbara Walters special doing the publicity photography. I did several with Barbara Walters. And do you guys know who Barbara Walters is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, in today's world, she would be like who would be an equivalent today?
They don't even really do interviews like that no more.
Whoopi Goldberg or Anderson Cooper, a big media news star. Anyways, so Drew Barrymore, very, very nice young lady. We shot at her house, and I asked her if I could do some pictures by the Rose Garden. She said, "Oh, I love that so much." This, the studio setup was not as much to her liking as being out in nature. Shaquille O'Neal, very nice guy. It was in the early days. He was guest starring on a show called All That, which had Kenan Thompson, Kenan and Kel, Amanda Bynes, before Amanda Bynes went psycho. Anyways, he was there, and he had a little posse, and between takes, they would, we were in the Nickelodeon Theater on Sunset. He and his guys would set up like 2-liter soda bottles from the craft service, and then get basketballs and just do bowling in the aisles while they were, and they'd be shooting. He'd be like, "Hey, what's that noise?" And Shaq would be like, walking away, and the basketball would knock off the soda bottles and stuff. You can contrast that with Michael Jordan. I worked on a shoot on 2020, and he, at the time, I think he was trying to sell, did he do like a cologne or something for a while there back.
Yeah.
And he kept to his own script of endorsing his product and answering very limited amount of questions. You know how it is with the press. They're always trying to pry open, another layer of the onion or some subject matter you don't want to talk about, like gambling or, whatever, ex-girlfriends that were trying to hunt him down. Anyways, he was all business. No give. He did his part with the publicity, but you could not get a word in with him. Let's see, other good ones.
I just want to let you know, all the shows that you're naming,
Yeah.
I grew up watching personally. So, all that, the road rules, and this was, I think at the portion in the 90s and the early 2000s, I think that's when television was at its peak.
Yeah.
Because, if you really understand, like in the 80s, a lot of people had TVs, but a lot of people didn't. It was real common to go to other people's house and watch TV, especially if they had a color TV. And so, come towards the end of the 90s, the early 2000s, flat screens, bigger TVs.
Sure.
Now there's a television in every household, cable, whatnot, the public access programming. So, some of the shows that you work on, it's just, just amazing to, be behind the scenes and
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
the
that
first part of reality TV, really.
Sure, and for a lot of it, I didn't realize, I mean, these people became big stars later, so when you're there at the time, it's just Mario, it's just Fergie, you know, because they were just at the beginning. It's fun to be a part of that. That's true. Let's see, what else? Can I talk about how we met and how you influenced me?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we met at a Julian Marley concert at Belly Up in San Juan Capistrano, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I'll go back in my Marley experience. I grew up in the Caribbean where Bob Marley was the #1 artist I attached myself to as a youngster. And when I was in college in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I got tickets to see him. It would be my first time seeing him. And I was so excited about it, and that's when he got sick. And so Milwaukee was 2 dates after his last concert in Pittsburgh. So I missed him by 2 dates, didn't get to see him, right? So, okay, and it was really upsetting to me, and nobody around me understood why. Why was this such a big thing for you? Because I was in the States, and not everybody was from the Caribbean or had a very strong attachment to reggae music. So fast forward, I'm shooting for a Brazilian newspaper back in the early 90s maybe. I go to the show at Universal, Ziggy Marley. I know nothing about Ziggy Marley, except I say, Ziggy Marley, cool name. He's got to be related to Bob Marley. And this guy comes out on stage, and I'm like, oh my effing God, Bob Marley is reincarnated. I am looking at the guy that I never got to see. He's right in front of me. Okay, so that's mind-blowing enough. And then years later, he's like, you mean he's got 8 or 11 children or grandchildren who are really just as good? And if you take the body of all of those children, the body of their work has so surpassed what Bob Marley did himself.
Right.
You know? So we met at this concert. I had already seen him once, like a week earlier, up in L.A., but he was down in San Juan Capistrano. What's that?
In Garden Grove.
Garden Grove.
Yeah, the amp.
Yes, exactly. So here I am, I'm shooting. Oh, and so the story was I was working that day. I didn't even plan to go to the concert, but I was literally working a job in San Juan Capistrano shooting a house. I was like, I know I saw him last week, but I want to see this guy again because he is amazing.
Amazing. I think amazing for, especially Julian Marley, you know, who's a close friend of mine. Is almost a little understatement because it's a little overwhelming when he performs and you're just like, my goodness, like.
Do you remember, let's see, did you go to the Garden Grove show?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, Cooling in Jamaica with the Dennis Brown mix in the center of the song. I just, to this day, was so blown away by that performance. It was just amazing. Anyway, so we're at the show. I tried to bring in a camera because since I was working, I had my gear in the car. They kind of flexed a little bit and said, you really can't do that. I said, it's only one little camera and it's for my personal use. I was all right. Oh, even getting the ticket. I walk up to the box office and I'm like, you still got tickets to tonight's show? You know, yeah, we got tickets. I'm like, how much? $25. I'm like, okay, you know. I couldn't believe it. It was so reasonable. We go in, he starts to perform, small venue, we're like 10 feet away. I see this guy here, Chris, he's shooting. And this is, when you talk about respect the shooter, this was a respect the shooter moment from the start. I see this guy, he looks cool, he looks awesome, he knows what he's doing with the camera. I look over at him, and there's two trains of thought in photography, or two philosophies. One is you see a photographer and you're like in the CIA and you want to kill the motherfucker. And I don't, to this day, I don't understand that vibe from people that just try to dominate you psychologically and pretend they're better than you. And like, no, man, we have got to come together.
Right.
We have got to know each other and help each other and support each other. So I see this guy. He looks over at me, smiles at me, like huge smile, like, good to see you, man. I'm like, I like this guy right off. So we talked after the show. I saw a bit about how you go about things. You're shooting for artists. It takes courage, man, to go up to an artist and say, hey, man, I got this cool shot of you. But you know you got confidence. You know your shot's going to be awesome, and they're going to have to take a peek at least.
Right.
And then hopefully that leads to an introduction and a relationship, which obviously I'm quite jealous because, man, being in with any Marley would just be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I got in. Well, my friend grew up with Julian and
Okay.
the rest of them.
Okay.
And is like married into the family.
Sure,
And
sure.
that was something that she kept to her chest for years until Julian was on his As I Am tour.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we just came in and locked in and just, you know, it's been a good relationship ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, I met you. I saw so much swag, confidence, friendliness, openness. And plus we just clicked, you know, and you need those people in your life.
Yeah.
You need to develop those things. And sometimes it's kind of a magic to it that you can't describe or understand, but you don't need to. You just let it flow. Let it be a good thing.
I'm always interested in who's like working because I know like, it's like, hey, that guy's got a camera. Oh, what do you do? It's
Right.
like nice because, you know, who knows? I may be able to help you. You may be able to help me.
Sure.
You know, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
That's why you talk. That's why you talk. And you know, we're smart. We pick up the key elements of what each other is doing and file it away for if there's a time when we can help each other. This guy's going to be strong in my mind because he had a lot going on that I liked, and I know he can do it. Sight unseen, right? I mean,
Right.
That's what we need. We need people to believe in us, sight unseen.
Right. I mean, because there are a lot of things that we do that directly and indirectly affects the trajectory of people's careers.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they're aware of it and they just don't care. It's like, well, they're supposed to do this because I'm this person, or a good amount of the time they're appreciative, like, hey man, you know, you didn't have to do that, but I saw you and thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I think of that in my career, how the most delicate of encounters, like not earth-shaking events, turned into be extremely beneficial to me in the long run. I remember at USC, I had at the time, there was this website, portfolio gallery service, you know, way at the beginning of the internet. Somebody looked me up on this, saw my portfolio of stuff. There was enough PR in there. He said, hey, you want to come down to USC and shoot Homecoming, where parents come in from around the country to go watch the football game, and there's a package, and they take a family photo and all that stuff. So I said, yeah. Turned into 15-year career at USC, you know? And it started out as a little tiny dot. Yeah.
Okay, before we get into the career at USC,
Yeah.
why don't you talk a little bit about the transition from film to digital for you?
Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one. So the transition, yeah, because I was there. You guys, you never were there.
Right.
You were already digital.
A little bit.
You're little
bit.
babies already,
Right.
like barely sucking on the teat, man.
Right.
And then, you know.
Right.
No, so what happened was I was, oh man, shooting stuff like concerts on slide film, 300 ASA tungsten slide film that you had to push 2 and 3 stops, and it looked like crap because the more you push, first of all, what ASA do you need? What ISO do you need to shoot a concert, man? 3,200, 5,000,
Yeah.
you know? We had 320 ASA in the film world that if you pushed it 2 stops, you were getting 640, 1280. And the more you pushed slide film, the more the highlights just got blown to shit. And what is concert photography about? Extreme highlights. It was like this, man, when you set your film in, you know, and today, so much control with the digital, right?
Right.
Anyway, so I was working at the time for ABC television, MTV, VH1, a few things, and I had developed a rule early in my career. If it's something that you're at least vaguely interested in, do not say no more than 3 times before you make a move to put yourself in a position to accept a job of that type. So I had said no twice to requests to shoot digitally. The third time I was like, F it. I'm going to just say, yep, yeah, digital. I shoot digital for sure. Yeah, I'm good. Digital is no problem. So it was for the vice president of MTV. I was supposed to shoot his portrait at 11 o'clock in the morning at his home and have the film emailed by 2 p.m. in the afternoon for the Hollywood Reporter.
Right.
Okay? So, dude, I didn't even know what a JPEG was. But at the time, since I was younger in my career, I used to rent a lot of gear over at, it's now called Sammy's Camera in Pasadena. And I rented a lot of gear. I knew all the guys in the rental house, and they were friends of mine, and they were nice. And I said, guys, you know, all hands on deck. I've got to shoot a digital job tomorrow. I don't know crap about digital. I knew I could, because if I had problems in the past with gear, I would call in and they would walk me through a fix on gear. So I go to this guy's place. I shoot the shots digitally. I had to go to a frickin' Kinko's. I didn't even know how to send photos in an email. I had to go to a Kinko's and get a AOL account or something. And I was struggling through it, but I did have a friend who was a newspaper photographer. He was already into digital. You got to save it as a JPEG. Try to save it as a 12. I'm like, what is this foreign language you are talking? But I did all the stuff. He showed me how to embed my copyright in the metadata for the photos. And there it was in the Hollywood Reporter the next day. I was like, this is a revolution. This is so cool. And I was very lucky. Digital came pretty easy for me, I got to say. 2 or 3 times around the block with a digital camera, I had it figured out. It took me a while to get RAW figured out.
Right.
But it was not so bad. And I mean, look, immediately you are not paying photo lab fees. You're not doing rush. You're not going to the lab 2 and 3 times a day to get your results back. So it was revolutionary in so many ways.
All right. Revolutionary from the beginning. That's amazing. I mean, like I said, I was born in '88. So coming through the 90s, everything growing up was the instant film, the Polaroid, the 35 millimeter disposable camera. That was everybody's thing in the 90s. And so, being a professional photographer, it was almost like you were at the digital forefront, when this stuff is coming out, because, even back then, those cameras were thousands of dollars that, the things that we have now, they look like dinosaurs and paperweights compared to, and it's only been, 20 years. And, I could only imagine, what the future of photography and film is going to look like. What equipment do you use now?
So right now, I use Canon, it's 6, EOS 6 Mark II. Okay, I'll start again. So what I use right now is a Canon 6D Mark II. Okay. I have 2 of those and 2 backup 6Ds. I have an old 5D. But for me, mostly doing real estate, what I love about the 6D, besides it costs less, is that movable screen. So I can back myself, if I'm in a small room, I can go all the way to the wall and just leave 3 inches to turn the viewfinder sideways. As long as I can see it and I know what I'm getting, I can get more of the room in the shot. Whereas if it was just looking through the back of the viewfinder, I would have to have space for my whole body so I could look through it. So that's a cool thing about the 6D. Let's see. Hey, one cool system for you guys out there. I ran into this sort of by accident. I had a little bit of gear stolen from my car. I don't know, I guess I was lazy. I used to keep like a portable strobe in the trunk of my car, light stand, and a tripod, a nice tripod. But anyway, so I had to scramble because I had a job the next day. And, buying gear on the internet is great until you need something immediately the next day. And, these camera stores, they ain't got what you need, man.
Nah.
But I found one thing that seemed like it would work at Sammy's in the Fairfax district. I zoomed down there. I got this little Godox. You guys use Godox?
Yep.
Somebody had told me about Godox years ago. I was like, because I already had this system that I liked. But I got this Godox, and it's a little 200-watt deal. But Godox system has radio slaves that communicate with each other. I was still using like radio slaves that you had to hook a PC cord
Right.
to make them work. This is all built
Right.
in these tiny units. And this 200, I had something before that the battery pack, I had to strap it onto the stand, and there was a cord, and the effing cord would break like every 3 months because I used the thing every goddamn day.
Right.
So here's this little portable battery monoblock where the battery is in the head, lasts all goddamn day.
Yep.
One little freaking, you know how far we have come from the
Right.
old days in a Norman 400 that had to like charge overnight. You would like need a chiropractor at the end of the day and like a super heavy duty leather strap to put that thing on your shoulder. Anyways, so go out and get this Godox system. You get these little on camera, pretty strong, like guide number 190 little strobes that are very powerful, that have radio slaves that communicate to the little battery monoblock, and you control the power for every unit from the little unit on your camera. So this has cut down so much time for me shooting real estate, because every time I would do a shot and I needed another half stop of power from a light that's in the corner, I have to walk over there and change it. Not now, man. Boop, zip, zap, zoop. And, let's see, what other gear? I use a carbon fiber tripod because, like I say, I do the same stuff every day. I'm getting old. And anything that cuts 2 or 3 pounds off of what I got to be doing, I should be doing product reviews for companies because I work more than anybody I know. I go through gear more than anybody I go. When I break a 6D, I take it to the shop because it's going to be the shutter box. Why am I going to spend another $2,500 worth for $500 if another one, Canon Professional Services. For anybody that has Canon out there, they have stores in Burbank, in Hollywood. There's one in Irvine. You pay a membership fee of like $100, and it's like 20% off of a repair. They repair stuff very fast. It's the best repair you'll ever get. So I get new shutter boxes for like $400 or $500 instead of getting a brand new camera. Let's see. So carbon fiber, a Benro tripod. I would recommend getting any carbon fiber tripod.
But wait, okay, so how do you avoid falling into the gear trap?
Much to my detriment in my early career, I was a little hesitant to get the top gear when I was younger. I didn't have as much confidence that I would break through and pay for this expensive gear. So in the early days, I didn't get the best of stuff. That changed. One day, I went to this like guru type of seminar, make all these goals. And one thing that stuck was I made a list of equipment that I wanted, and it might have taken 3 or 4 years, but I got every damn thing on that list just by the power of intention. So I started to get better stuff. Remind me of the question again?
No, we were just talking about like how to avoid the gear trap.
Oh, the gear trap.
When the newest thing comes out.
Right. That's a good one. Because I know my business pretty well, I know what stuff is going to make me more money. For example, I got into the drone game in real estate because it was another one of those things. By the third ask, can you shoot drone? I had to say yes, because I knew that was going to be part of the future of the business. So I got in, and I traded up drone levels until I got to Phantom Pro Mark IV. And besides the fact that it's a single fixed lens and you can't really zoom, most of my drone stuff is actually stills, and nothing beats that 1-inch sensor in a DJI Phantom 4. You can even get the advanced, not even the Pro, it's the same sensor. Nothing has come out that's revolutionary enough or smaller or quieter enough for me to change. Now I do pick up used ones for backups. That's something you should do. If you need to pick up backup gear, get it off of eBay, you know. I've had very good luck. I've only got screwed one time in maybe 12 purchases through eBay, getting used gear online. Gear trap. What are the things that are, well, eventually I did have to get one of those, I got a, not the DJI Ronin, but the
gimbal,
even cheaper Chinese, it's called a Waybill by Zhenzhou or something like that. Yeah, that I love, man. That, you know, let's talk about gear. I mean, don't you love it when you pick up some new gear? Okay, going back, no, I'm not a gear guy. I don't have to have all the gear. I just have to have the stuff that I know will make me money.
That's right.
So I needed the drone. That made me money. I needed to do, when I started doing video for real estate, I'm walking around hand-holding like a Canon Sure Shot, you know, that had video in the beginning. Oh my God, it was so terrible. If I showed you my first real estate video, it was so bad. But I had the desire, because that's where I started. That's what I wanted to do when I came out here in '84. I wanted to make films. Well, it may not be as glamorous, but dude, I make films now. I'm Premiere Pro, and I'm learning editing. I'm learning new moves, new transitions, new titles, and I'm freaking good at it. You know, and this is what keeps me young, because there's always new stuff to learn. And when you start flexing new muscles, like learning how to use the gimbal and doing the joystick, it's like, hey man, I already do a joystick on the drone, so you already have developed some muscle memory. I'm not like you young guys who like grew up with joysticks and freaking video games, and the first time you take a drone up, you like do a perfect 360 around the house because it's like joystick, that's like second nature to me. Right. But I've learned it, and you know, so when you flex and do some video, do some stills, you are flexing your brain in different ways, which comes back to all the aspects of your photography business and just makes you sharper, more confident, and more able to say yes to more types of work, you know? So,
I mean, I've been looking at this list, man. You got some pretty crazy stories. Why don't you tell me about this Elizabeth Taylor?
Elizabeth Taylor, okay. So, as you know, I mean, everybody knows Marilyn Monroe for the youngsters of today. But, I mean, to people more in my generation, here's Marilyn Monroe. Liz Taylor's probably, she had a much bigger body of work. It was beautiful. Oh, it's true. Elizabeth Taylor had violet eyes. Violet. Have you ever seen anybody that didn't have contacts that had violet eyes?
Violet beautiful eyes.
Yeah, purple.
Yeah, right, yeah. Right.
So it was a Barbara Walters special. It was at Elizabeth Taylor's house in Beverly Hills. It was the day after the Super Bowl many years ago. I had an assistant with me because this was a big one, and I used to do a thing called mini galleries. Do you guys know what a mini gallery is? Yeah. Right? It's a little bit more than just doing straight publicity where they're just shooting and you're just capturing from the little dark shadows. Right. So I was prepared for a mini gallery. Here's another cool thing. With Barbara Walters, because she was a mature lady at the time, there was a specific instruction. Everybody who had a camera lens had to use, I can't remember right now, but it was like a Calvin Klein 22 black hose, a lady's black hose that you had to buy, put over the lens, put a rubber band over it. It's like a diffusion filter. And that was the choice of the day that made Barbara Walters look her best. And so, you know, all our cameras had that. And, you know, it didn't hurt Elizabeth Taylor at the time, because she was similar in age, although she was so beautiful. You could just shoot up straight, raw, harsh light, and she would still look amazing. Anyways, okay, check it out. So it's the day after the Super Bowl, and in her kitchen was a Godiva chocolate life-size football.
Okay.
And it was like, it said on it, Super Bowl, 36 or something. And there was like 6 bites out of it. I looked at it, this is solid chocolate? She's like, oh yes, it's solid chocolate. So my first opportunity was after the interview was over. It was a setup like this, studio lighting. She had a big chair like this, and she and Barbara, the chair was big enough they could both kind of sit in the chair. And the director had arranged this for me, and I was so grateful because I was nervous as hell. And so I start shooting, and unfortunately, when I was younger, I didn't have as much like swag talk, like a person like yourself. I was good, but I was super reserved, and I was in my head a lot. So I didn't have much game. I didn't have much chatter, But I knew how to shoot. And when you know how it is when you're shooting and people just do stuff, and like, I ain't got to worry about them. They know what to do. Anything they do that's cool, I will get it because that's my job. And I will be so happy because there's less time me directing and splitting my concentration between directing and photographing. Right. So they're doing the thing. I'm shooting away. I'm having a great time. Like, oh my God, this is happening. The director taps me on the shoulder, and so they're both in the chair, and Elizabeth Taylor had her little Shih Tzu. She had, was like, with the ribbons and the hair and the ponytail stuff, a very foo-foo little dog. Fucking dog's ass was pointed straight at the camera. It was backwards. And the director taps me on the shoulder and says, maybe we should turn the dog around. I had been concentrating on looking at their faces for a moment that I didn't even see the fucking dog. And so I was like, I played it so cool. Oh, that's an idea, okay. And he handled it. He turned the dog around, and we did the rest of the photos with the dog, and something worked. And then I got a chance to do a mini gallery in her backyard in a little, one of those porch swings type of things with the two of them in the chair, and I got to light it, and I shot it on a Hasselblad film.
Really?
Yeah, it was very cool.
Take a moment to clap for, Tom getting a photograph. Liz Taylor, hey man.
Yeah, that was nice, and she was nice. Yeah. She was nice. Not. And at the time I could figure it out. It was like, I'm a not bad looking, younger male, and I'm probably in a zone where I'm okay and at least somewhat pleasant to casually be around for 5 minutes. And I took that and kind of put that sort of sweater on and kind of rode that, and that worked out. Yeah, and it's a great memory. That's one thing in this business, is we get the types of stories and memories that a guy that, rose to the top selling copiers probably not going to have so many dramatic stories, Okay,
so what about Wife Swap?
Oh my God. Wife Swap was a show on ABC a decade ago or something, where they would take two couples and switch spouses for a week. And just like all these reality shows, it's pretty made up, but I shot a few of them, had some fun, and so they sent me out to Phoenix for a day to shoot this episode. And it was a liberal lesbian couple and a conservative Christian right couple from Texas, and they couldn't get along at all. So they weren't cooperating. They weren't cooperating on the shoot. They were nowhere near being ready for a publicity photo. But that doesn't matter for me. My job is to get that shot, so I have to be in the ready at all times. But it had been going on for hours, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I told the assistant director, I said, look, man, I got to go to the bathroom real bad. But if anything happens, I'm right around the corner, come knock on the door, and I will finish up my deal, and I'll be right out there. So I finish, I'm washing my hands, I get out of the bathroom, I come back to where the lobby of this hotel, I look out in the parking lot, they're 40, 50 yards away from me, their backs are to me, they're going towards their separate limos, they're done, they quit, they didn't complete the mission, which is fine for TV because you can always spin it some way and have some extra drama about, oh my God, they hated each other so much and the history of wife swap. You know, they never had anything like this, like they do on The Bachelor every single week these days, right? So I grabbed my camera. I didn't have time to find the guy and go, what the hell, dude? I just ran out there, and right at the last second, one of the wives looked at the gay wife looked at the straight wife with the two husbands looking straight forward from the back, and at least there was some sort of communication there that did sum up what their interaction was like, and they had a shot that they could use. They were not super thrilled that I only got 2 shots, but I explained, and that was it. So I got paid to be there for the whole day for 2 frames, 2 usable frames. But, you know, I mean, what do you send in on a job? Whatever's usable. That's good. Sometimes I do edit because I think people's brains like literally explode if you give them too much good content, especially like weddings or headshots, you know. Maybe if it's corporate or entertainment, you give them more because, you know, those efforts want every ounce of your blood. So you got to give them everything you got. So wrapped it up early because they quit. And I remember I was in such a bad mood. I'm in Phoenix, 3 or 4 hours to La Plaine. And it was the week that White Chicks came out in theaters. So I went to see White Chicks, and it just freaking completely erased the entire stink of that shoot, you know. So I went home happy, and you know, that's a crazy one, you know.
Yeah. We have bad days in photography.
We have bad days. I can talk about bad days and bad situations. So you ever done a job and you thought it kind of sucked?
Yes.
But you got to turn it in, right?
Yeah.
I've got 2 reverse psychology methods that I use to cope with bad days where you just didn't do, for whatever reason, you didn't produce a result that you're particularly proud of. So let me ask you this. What would you rather do? Would you rather turn in a job that you were not super happy with, or have a corrupt card and your job is gone and it was a live event that can't be reproduced? Which would you rather have?
I'd rather turn in something.
And when you go to turn in that job, say it's from, let's put it this way. You've had a corrupt card, you got the images back through image recovery software, and it still kind of sucks, but to you, what does it look like?
Trash.
Fuck that, it looks like solid gold, dude!
You got it. No, you got it back.
You got your card back. You got your pictures. They could be shit.
Any data that you got off of a corrupted card, you're happy, even if it's a photo.
Totally. So that's, you know, when I got a job that kind of sucks a little bit, that's what I do. I just say, hey man, it could have been a corrupt card, so this is golden, this is gravy. And you know what else happens? You send in a job you don't like very much. I've gotten emails, dude, you killed it. Fantastic, I love it. I'm like, if you say so. I thought it was shit, but so, you know, you learn to come up with ways with dealing with less than perfect results. I have 2 more quick stories about that. I'll say to young shooters out here, if you can, assist somebody who's really good, assist somebody who's established in the business. You can almost always get in assisting an established pro by volunteering for 1 day. And if you hit it off or you have any skills, maybe it leads to something else. But I've worked for some big commercial photographers in my day. I wasn't super good, but guess what I was super good at? Memorizing how they lit shit. You know, who knew? Years later, I was like, remember that day I fucking forgot the studio keys and the whole day was like delayed for 2 hours? Ugh. But I remember how you lit that beautiful shot, dude. I have that in my quiver, my
Right.
arrow quiver today, and I use it today. But I learned this. I was assisting on a photo shoot for the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Shit was so huge and popular that they would do entire days with all of the grip electric department of the film just to shoot still photos of the dinosaurs. And I forget what the dinosaur guy's name was. He was huge in Hollywood as a special effects guy, an Italian guy. Shit, can't remember. You can insert the little title here after we Google it. So we're shooting the dinosaurs. I was second assistant in command, or the second assistant. And so this is on the Universal lot, and all the executives from Steven Spielberg and from Universal would drift by during the day to get a photo in front of the T-Rex, and they'd have the special effects guy would, have his jaws going open, and they would go, and we'd take pictures. So at the time, it was shot on a Hasselblad, and we had separate backs just for the people who would stop by to get a picture with the T-Rex. And that separate back got hosed. There was a light leak, and none of the pictures came out. This is a huge deal. This is a huge production. We're talking about over $100,000 a day production cost.
Right.
And the photographer was Steven Spielberg's guy, an English fellow named David James, who, he's done books on, still photo books on Saving Private Ryan and all. He's huge, and he's an amazing guy. So since I was second in command, I didn't have to be the guy that broke the news to David about it, but I was going to get the blowback just about as hard as the first assistant. So he tells David, I don't know what to say, David, but lightly, the film is gone, he's like, and he's an English fellow, he's like, bullocks. Well, what's the name of the secretary again down there at the, what's Spielberg's production company called? Amblin Entertainment. Hey, you get the secretary's number down there at Amblin. Okay, well, why don't you give her a ring on the telly and tell her, it was some sort of snafu and we're going to have to do a few parts or it's over again. I'm like, as simple as that? And so what happened was, these people, of course they wanted to come back to this set. It's fucking T-Rex. It's it's Jurassic Park, They got a boring office job. Of course, they come back. He's super gracious. And he just shoots it over again. No big effing deal. So this was a complete fail, and the guy just had a simple and honest approach to redemption, to fixing it. So that taught me, whatever I screw up, just be honest about it. Every professional photographer fails. Another guy was, he won the Pulitzer Prize for journalism, David Hume Kennerly. He was Gerald Ford's presidential photographer, and he covered Richard Nixon winning the nomination for the Republican Party. This was back in film days. And I saw him at a seminar at USC. I was covering a seminar at USC. And somebody's audience question was, what were your biggest fails as a professional photographer? I said, ooh, I love this question. He didn't have any film in the camera when the confetti dropped down when Nixon took the nomination.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if this dude who's won a Pulitzer Prize can get up in front of 400 people and say, one job? One of the most important political moments of this guy's life? I didn't put no film in the camera. So I was like, well, that's another one, just learn. We don't make many mistakes, but don't kill yourself if you make a mistake. It's going to be okay. You're going to live another day. Your skill set will improve, and you'll get where you need to go.
Man, on that note, Tom, I appreciate you coming. It's been amazing to hear some of these stories, man. We're gonna have to get you back on again. It's amazing. I thoroughly enjoy your work. Your portfolio is amazing. I'm looking forward to more and seeing more things come from your site.